Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Okay. So y- yeah, before we stopped our last class, right? We were discussing about the Spring Boot auto configuration. Okay. So these are very much useful, for developing a Spring Boot application. Okay. And these Spring Boot auto configurations actually, are kind of provide some extra add-ons for our application development. Okay, so there are a lot of things that we can directly use it. Okay, when we are using Spring Boot as a framework for our project development. So some of them are like this. Okay, so I'm just trying to give a small examples on this. Okay. Yeah, so we'll take embedded servlet container. Okay, so generally, whenever we wanted to deploy some applications, to some of the servers like WebSphere or Tomcat or JBoss, right? So what we do, we generally get that server installed in our local system, or in a remote server, so that we can go there, or we can get it deployed into that system, and it will work fine. It will be ready for testing, right? So all these things actually requires a proper installation and proper setup and everything, correct? So you know to avoid those kind of installation issues, or any other dependent issues on the server, so Spring Boot internally provides an embedded servlet container. Okay, what it does, right, it is going to help us to start a Tomcat server. Okay, in a default way, this Tomcat is going to come with us as a embedded with your application itself. So whenever you are starting your application, so it will start with Tomcat server. Okay, so and we are like very much worried about the default error pages. If we are not giving any proper error messages or anything, we don't know what to do. Correct. So Spring Boot auto configuration is having certain kind of very good features. It provides some default error pages. Okay, and to get this thing installed in your local, okay, you have to use this error MVC auto configuration, should be added as the Spring Boot auto configuration. Okay, and if you're developing an application which typically runs on web services. Okay, so that is converting your bean object to JSON and JSON object to bean. So this will literally if you this will be done in very quick way. Okay, you don't require to add any extra single piece of code to convert between bean and JSON. Okay, so when we are going to check on example, actually I'll show you what are all the Spring Boot auto configurations which we are discussing, how the Spring is going to load those beans and everything onto the screen, right? So we will definitely check on those. Okay, each one point. Okay, and let's go to the next one, next feature, that is build faster with Spring Boot dev tools. Okay, so this is one of the very good feature that I can say which Spring Boot introduced. Okay, so this is most likely with the developer perspective. Okay, so if we really need something that to be deployed into our Tomcat server, so you are assigned to a story and you have done the changes, and you have to keep it ready in the artifacts, and we can push it to the yeah so we can push it to the server, right? This way we generally deploy our changes. So what exactly this Spring Boot DevTools does, okay? So you don't require to worry about the server restarts for each and every deployment, okay? So the DevTools have capability to identify what are all the changes that you're doing within your project. So if that particular file has been changed, or okay, the file has been changed. So Tomcat will be automatically identifies whenever you click on save. So it auto deploys the entire application to your Tomcat folder. Okay, so that you don't require to do all the steps manually. Okay, so that is where, like, the Spring Boot dev tools come into the picture, and it is going to save a lot of time while frequent deployments that we do in our dev environment. Okay, and the next one is, you know all these changes will work, but except the pom.xml chain, pom.xml change. Okay, so every time whenever we do a pom.xml change, we actually have to rebuild our applications. Okay, so, and we need to restart. We need to restart the servers manually. Okay, so this is one of the advantage with the Spring Boot DevTools. Okay, and the next one is managing application. Okay, configuration using profiles. Okay, so what is this profiles, right? Earlier, as I mentioned, like when we have only Spring, we actually had issues to segregate our code into different environments like production, contingency, and you know you're seeing that, right? So what exactly these things are going to happen, right? So what it does, the Spring Boot provides a profile kind of a future for the applications, right? So what it does, these profiles are helping us to maintain different type of property files like dev, QA, and stage and production. Okay, so different environments need different configurations. So always, like, if you are connecting for your development environment, you might see a lot of, uh, you might see uh, lot of configurations for each and every environment. So we have dev now. So yeah, we have dev environment. Okay, and we can write all the dev related stuff into the dev.property file. Okay, and the second one, it is like whatever the other environment you have, it QA, prod, production. Okay, production, all these folders can be separated, and we can maintain our own application.properties files. Okay, to make sure these to make sure, like, our changes are going to the right path, like production and yeah, like production, and on also the other lanes, whatever we have it, right? We have to uh, we have to just, yeah, we have to just provide the different configuration according to their properties. Okay, so by this way, like, using those configurations, okay, we were trying to increase it, but yeah, so if you have, okay, so if you have different properties file, go with this profiles concept, and you'll be able to find a proper solution for all your properties file within different environments. Okay, so yeah, so let's see, like, what kind of approach that we were taking, right? So, as discussed, like, we were going to, if you wanted to deploy an application, so we have to go with some other options. So if first one is like, we have, Yeah, first one is like, how to deploy our application. When we consider it, we generally install Java, right? And we generally install Okay, so sorry. Yeah. So when we are trying to deploy our application into, the existing way, right? Like, before we are going to discuss about that, the application server installation. Okay, so what we generally do, we install Java and we install web or application server into there, and like Tomcat, WebSphere, and WebLogic. So we usually deploy our application var file into those servers, right? So then it is, it is done, and we can see the issues. But when we come to the embedded servers, so we already discussed about this servlet, right? Uh, which will be coming under that embedded server. So this is very simpler and alternative as well. Okay. So first one is install Java, and the second step is run Java jar file. Okay. Make jar not, into var. So this is how, like, we generally give some examples. Okay. For embedded server. So embedded server will not have any name. Okay. Which Yeah, so embedded servers are like, which will come with your Spring Boot dependencies only. Okay, so whenever you wanted to run your Spring Boot application, it will automatically starts with, default Tomcat port. Okay, and these are the embedded server examples, like, Spring Boot starter Tomcat, starter Jetty, and Spring Boot starter Undertow. Okay, yeah, so we have one more feature which is called Spring Boot Actuator. Okay, so what exactly this does, right? So this is, this feature provides, like, various options to us. Okay, to monitor our application. Okay, which is really working fine or not. And it can provide you the real-time data from application, that how many users are there, or how many, uh what kind of beans that this application has been created. And the second one, the health check of the application. Okay, and also the metrics, application metrics, so how many calls and everything. So it is going to capture. And there is one more thing which we have, mapping. So detail around request mappings, actually, it is going to provide you all the details of that mapping. Okay, so web service mapping. So like so this is like, Spring Boot Actuator. So this is also whenever we complete the first project of the REST API. So we will just go through all these things. Okay, in the browser only. Okay, so okay, so before going to that topic, like, I want to show you some examples about whatever we discussed now. Okay, and then we can have a clear picture. Okay, so what is going on with what is going on with the Spring Boot versus Spring MVC and Spring, right? Okay, so let me go down and let me open the project 1 second. Yeah, so I just open the project, and okay, so I have one demo application, but yeah. Okay, so let's come one by one, whatever we learned till now, right? Uh, okay, just a minute. Yeah, so let me just open that. 1 second. First demo, I think we have something here. First demo. Okay, that's fine. I think so Spring Boot might help us. Okay. So what I've done actually, I'm just taking one example. Okay. So which you can understand easily. Okay. The weather service config and it has an hyphen. Okay. So weather hyphen service, right? So what is this weather hyphen service does, right? It is just only, to uh, convert the color object, sorry, convert the uh, so this weather service config is going to useful for conversion from JSON to XML response. So XML to JSON response, right? So this part, right? Like the weather service config. Okay, so it is kind of a bean that it is going to hold all the values, right? Permutation helps map properties which are starting with provided key. Okay, here, just a second. Come on. And it has several other application controllers as well. Okay, so let's concentrate only on the weather service config. Okay, and let me run this weather service config. Okay, so and see whether if it is working fine or not. So okay, 1 second. I don't know why it is not running. 1 second. Okay, yeah, it is getting started. Okay, okay, so it seems like failed to start. Okay, so if I just hit, yeah, let me just open 1 second. Okay, so the Tomcat has been started over here. So this is very simple project. Okay, so I was just having weather service. Okay, and it is having. Okay, so let me go to the controller. Okay, so this controller is having couple of things. One is courses, and the other one is weather configs, right? So, but both are under our REST controller. Okay, so when you declared it as a REST controller, So whatever the features or capabilities we have it for REST, you know, button, right? So all those things, it will come to the course controller, and it will execute from here. Okay, so let me just hit these services, whether if it is I'm able to access it or not. So I don't have, 1 second. So 1 second. Why it is not taking that local host? Yeah. So if you see here, I just hit on local host underscore, yeah, local host, okay, underscore, sorry, double colon 8080 and courses. So what exactly we got the response? We got the response as one is learn AWS, and which is the institute, and the second one is learn iSeries, right? So I have given the names of. So I have given these data in the Java class. Okay, let's go back and check what exactly the Java class is going to do, which we call it as a REST controller. Okay, so in the REST controller, I have created a service. Okay, so which is going to return these values. Okay, so what are all the service, right? So if you see here, yeah, 1 second. If you see the course controller, okay, so I have couple of request mappings. So when I say request mapping, so this is like, kind of, we decide whether it's a get call or post call, right? So localhost 8080 courses, it's like, he is preparing like from so list, sorry, if you see here, list course and retrieve all courses is the method, for which is mapping it to the slash courses, right? And I don't have anything to store in the DB, so I was just using the same the collections. Sorry, the I was using the same thing, like whatever we have loaded. We have we have done it. So that is one is, we were printing that in the system out statement, after it, and we are returning that array as list, with all the usernames. Okay, so let me just, ping all these things. Okay, so and from the request mapping, we have another weather configs. Okay, so the first one is weather config, that what it is going to return. It is going to return the present weather in your location. Okay, so but in my case, like, whatever I have done, so this is this sorry, yeah, this weather configs, right? It's not kind of giving weather from the outside. Actually, we have couple of property file, okay, which is having weather, which is having all these configurations. Okay, so we were just trying to pull those configurations from the property file, and we were just expecting the pop out, okay, on the latency calls. Okay, so what we are going to do in the weather configs, okay, so we have couple of beans, sorry, we have couple of variables. One is URL, UID, and key, right? So all these things, what I'm trying to say, which are there present in the application.properties file, which is under the source main resources. Okay, so this is our application.property file. Okay, and you have all the weather related things. I see weather hyphen service and weather hyphen service and weather hyphen service. So all these weather hyphen service, right? So will be displayed when you hit the URL which you wanted to. Okay, so I will just remove this localhost 8080. Instead of courses, we will just use weather configs. Okay, if you see here, the URL, UID, and key which are coming, you know, to uh, servers, right? Like, this will be helping us, to find out something else, right? So these output, like, um, if you need more details, you can just add something in the you can just add something on the uh, like, if you want to use these things. Okay, or if you wanted to, like, check more options, what how we can retrieve, how we can store all those things, yeah, we can still do those things, in this application, right? So we just discussed about weather conflicts, which is having some kind of yeah, some kind of properties which are exist in the properties file, so that can be retrieved using this weather service. Okay, so the next one is like, in the same thing. So we do have the embedded server, to pick up and, run all these things, right? So let's see, I know how we can run the other applications as well, right? Like, we were just checking only on uh, one place, and, one project, right? You know to check on, different kind of properties that we can load it in our program, right? So what we are going to do here, right? So we have created a couple of services. Okay, one is the courses services, and the other one is weather services. Okay, what courses services are doing, actually it is giving some kind of output, and, whether configs are retrieving something from the property file, and it is giving it. So for both, if you see here, we just declared a request mapping. So this is our exact web service method call. Okay, courses and weather configs. That's why I'm not adding anything, and, I'm just, giving this as an output, okay, in a JSON format. Okay, so this is like very simple REST call. Okay, so what are the highlights that we have done in this application? So one is, wherever we need that examples, for wherever we need that, a REST API service calls, we can go with, @REST controller as an annotation, right? And in the weather service config also, we are just looking for component. Okay, so @component, and also configuration properties. So in the configuration properties, whatever the name that we have it in property file, if it is repeating for 1 2 3 4 5, so that will be, added into your account. Okay, so that will be added, into this um, yeah, so the whatever the values which are starting with weather hyphen service, so, this particular code will be executed, and it will be added to the the object. Okay, so for the weather service config, once it is done, when we check the weather service config is working fine, and then, we will retrieve all these values, and, populate, wherever we want. Okay, so this is one way that, we can just pull out all the properties file. Okay, for each and every environment. Okay, so this weather config service config, will work on the application dev.properties. That means, it is going to work on the uh, it will work only when we have something related to that particular configuration properties which we declared on the top. Okay, so why we use these things, right? In our day-to-day projects. Okay, so we we generally use this configuration properties to retrieve set of instructions, whatever we have it in the properties. Okay, so the first one is like, when you are trying to connect to a database. Okay, so you have a database connection, and if it is having any kind of, the DB related item, right? So, if you wanted to populate those values automatically, okay, before committing it, okay, committing the code changes, okay. So if you wanted to do those things, like, we can easily achieve those kind of volume population, value population, everything using, this at the rate configuration, uh, load properties. Okay. And the second one is at the rate component that, we were telling directly to Spring, saying that, okay, don't worry about me, just you know like, okay, so what we are trying to say, component, when we are declaring it as a component, we were just saying that Spring, and I'm not going to take care of this object, okay, or this document, whatever I have shared. You have to, like, take care of, creating, adding the life cycle, everything, that it has to be taken care, right? So taken care by Spring, not us. Okay, so that's where we declare, an annotation at the rate component. Okay, so this is our basic example for the REST service call. Okay, so we are going to extend this particular calls, with adding more flavors to it, so that, we can cover a lot of other things. Okay, yeah. So, the course.java. Okay, so the course.java is kind of a bean again, and we have okay. So a course class is also having a bean, and, it will hold the values whatever we are passing it from that. Um, that's right. So let's go ahead, and check for the next one. Okay. So in the application dot properties, okay, or application hyphen dev dot properties. Okay, so what we are trying to do, we are having uh, this one, right? One second. Yeah, this is not opening for me. Okay, so if you see here, this is the active profiles which I was talking about. Okay, so this is Spring Active SIT. So when we are trying to uh, yeah, when we are trying to push some code to SIT, actually it will come through this Spring profile dot active. Okay, so whether we already know what exactly these things, this is our created for a demo, and this is also, it is going to be created for a demo. Okay, so let me just show you what exactly behind this, right? So so if you see here, this looks very small piece of code, right? So but, the thing is, like, we whenever so whenever we require some kind of monitoring on our applications, okay, we surely recommend to enable this, okay, metrics, okay, on the application server, like, from the core, right? So what we have these, and what we have included here, right? Health, metrics, and beans. So these are all the things that we are going to eat in the morning. Sorry, yeah, so these are the things that we are going to use it, okay, in, whenever we wanted to check the health of our application. Okay, so how this architator, going to work, we are going to check all those things, okay, with this project. Okay, and one second, let me show you something else. One second. Okay, let me Let me just come back here. Okay. So the application of properties. Okay. I just copied here. Okay. One thing to make sure. First, we will work on the actuator. Okay. If you see here in the logs, I already started the change. Okay. Now, so if you see here, there is you know exposing three endpoints beneath base path slash actuator. Okay, so how to open this actuator? Just a simple way. You go to the browser. Okay, go to the browser, and what we need to do, right? We just need to type in localhost colon 8080, and okay, one second. It's not 8080 then. Actuator default and port, right? Okay. 082. Host. So host 8082. One second, sorry. Share the one second. Let me check 08080. Yeah, okay. So if you see here, I have just enabled only couple of them, okay, in the application. So if you want to enable more, more related to this stuff, so we have to, change something on the properties file. Okay, so I'll let you know. I'll show you that. Okay, but yeah. So if you see here, this is our local host accurator. So what this message is going to provide us, right? So this is going to provide some health checks. This is going to provide some, different type of beans, whatever we have it sitting idle. Okay. And also the beans and also, the healthy path. Okay. And then again, we'll have some metrics call. Okay. So which shows all the metrics. Okay. And the next one is like, if you wanted to go with required metric name, yeah, then you can just choose that. Okay. So what exactly these things are going to do, right? So if you just directly open this HTTP localhost accreditor beans, right? So this beans is going to show you how many beans that you have used in this application. Okay, there are lot many beans that are created under this application. So do we really need all these things? Yes, we need it. Okay, so these are all coming from the these are all coming from the Spring Boot. Okay, so these are all the classes that you are seeing, that beans which were created by James. Sorry, this was created by the application. Okay, with the help of Spring Boot, right? So yeah, so this is like total number of beans which are available in our application. Okay, we have it under this local host. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let me go to the next one. So these are all the beans which we have it, in the application. So if you search for Control F course, right? Okay, did we created any bean for course class? I don't think so, right? So we created for weather. Okay, I'm not sure why it is not coming, but yeah. So it might be because of, okay, yeah. Okay, so if you have this health, okay, so just check this health using, yeah, I'm just showing health. So health is like very simple, but it's just showing up, okay. And if I go for the next one, metrics, right? So this is like very interesting one, okay. So which shows metrics of our application, okay, metrics. Yeah. So these are all the metrics that we have it, for the application. So what we need to do, we just need to select this. Yeah. So application.ready.time, right? So just copy it and just use it here. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Just so sorry. Okay. So let me just take this matrix and just copy it here. Okay, so when I come back and just get this application ready.time. Okay, application ready.time. Okay, so if you see here, there are like, application was ready on this many seconds, like, values 12.94 second. Okay, if you can go back and check in here, right? So it is saying that, 12.653 seconds. Here it is like 12.594934. Okay, so it's like very, very minor differences between this one, okay, to the production, right? So what we are going to do, we were just going to refer different type of uh, HTTP server request, right? So let us check this, okay? Let us check this by populating. Yeah, so let me just replace it here. HTTP servlet request, right? So just HTTP servlet request. Okay, I'm sorry. One second. Okay, if you see here, there are certain counts that it is maintaining for each and every service, how many hits that it happened, and server how many thousands that happened, right? So what it does, like, for each and every call, it is going to suspect, and it is going to add that particular. Okay. Uh, so it we can monitor these things, right? So let's see, the first one is like, how many times that you have called the service. So if I just do a refresh or anything else in this, okay, so it can, 1 second. Yeah, so this is the total time that it took, and this is the statistic maximum time so it took. And also there are available tags like for checks exception, and the other task method, and to error, these things, right? All these things which are going to tell us about the metrics of our application. So if I refresh here, so it is going to change for 10, because this is one of the server which got triggered that, and which will be updating the count as well, right? So this is, we call it as like the metrics modification. And this is the, yeah, yeah. So he, like these are the like really very interesting uh components. Okay, so accutator and the pen related things. Okay, so what we have learned, right? Like we were just checking on the accutator. Okay, so which accutator is having certain URLs which can help us to check our application health status. Okay, so these are the few URLs whatever we discussed now. I think uh, so yeah, so these are all the URLs only. And let's see if we have any other uh, one second. Okay, so let me go to the accutator, right? So this is our accutator. Okay, so yeah, we already saw these things, but one second, just a minute. Okay, so I just wanted to show you something this. Okay, so I did not configure any of the error pages, if you guys remember, into this application. So it is just only the plain Java application. Okay, so which is having a little like kind of web service calls. Okay, and after this, if I just enter something wrong way, so we are getting an error page called white label error page. So I did not implemented any of the error pages in this application. Okay, so this was like one of the best advantage which I have thought yesterday or day before yesterday, to you all guys, like um, whenever we don't have any kind of EPAS error pages or struts error pages, so he always like yeah he yeah it always like get this errors displayed on its uh, own screen, right? This screen was completely developed with in the Spring only. Okay, so when we add those dependencies from the starter projects, and this is one of the starter project which is going to be getting into our project. Okay, so what it is going to help us, whenever we have some issue, if our if we are alone, so we can just do that. Okay, so like we can have this white label error page. Okay, will be displayed in any of the error conditions, until unless if we have any specific custom okay conditions. Okay, so this is our white label error page, and I'll show you where exactly this is going to become. Okay, and let's check the next one. Yeah, so we were just checking on the Spring Accutator, and we do have some other things also we just learned. One is Spring Dev Tools, right? So what the Spring Dev Tools are very famous, when we have something outside, and so when we have sorry, one second. Yeah, so when we have some changes, outside of the server, like that means, in your application that you are doing some changes, and once the change is done, we have to push it, to the we have to push it to the our development server, right? So the problem here is like, we should not want to deploy that, with manually. So we wanted to do it, kind of automated, right? So what I'm doing actually, so if you see here, yeah, one second. There's a post control. Okay. So I'm just doing this once again. It's very slow. Come on. Um, One second. Okay. So let me. Okay. So I have here the course controller. Okay. So let me start the application first, and then I'll show you how the dev tools is going to work. Okay. And then we can wind off. Okay. For today. So course controller dot Java, we have it. And yeah, let me start the application first. And it is started. Okay. So when we start this application, right, we were not seeing much anything, on the logs, for the additional details, right? So for that, what we need to do, yeah. So we just need to, sorry, yeah. What we need to do, we have some changes in the course controller, okay, which is actually dependent on the fig. So it which is actually dependent on this post controller, which is already depend on the these two services. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now here, web configs loaded, for always. Okay. I'm just changing this. Okay. If I save it, just observe this. Tomcat server is automatically starting those, and it deployed the latest changes, right? So if you wanted to confirm that, you can just go here and just click localhost. Localhost, okay, 8080. Where is that weather config? Okay. So if you see here, weather key, and whenever I access that, actually it should print something on the screen, right? Web configs loaded for in always. Okay. So if you see here, why it did not print it? So that I'm calling the same one. Yeah, it printed right here. I'm sorry. I was not seeing that. Hello. Hello. Yeah. So if you see here, it printed here, right? That means the change, whatever I have done, it is just only always. Okay. And it automatically the service got executed and then it printed, without any proper deployment, manual deployment from our side. Okay, so if you observe this one more time, like I'm just going to always deploy. Okay, I'm just adding one more extra word and save it. Okay, so if you observe this Tomcat area, yeah, it sees it is redeploying the application. Okay, so this is what the DevTools advantage. Whenever we require some kind of code changes and everything, so it automatically deploys into the Tomcat servers. Okay, so and if you again access this localhost weather configs, okay, I got the response. And if you go down to the log and just check it, always deploy, right? So the latest changes are deploying automatically, to the Tomcat server. So this is the advantage with Spring DevTools. Okay, and the other one which we are going to talk about is like this one, Spring Boot embedded server. We talk about, like this is the Tomcat server which we are starting. Whenever we're starting the application, it automatically starts in a Tomcat. Okay, so that's why we are getting this Tomcat started with port number 8080, right? So this is very plain simple application. Okay, so we are going to discuss all these things. This is a theory, like whatever we are talking about, but we are going to do step-by-step process for all these features whatever we discussed over here, for each and every step that we have, how to check all those things, how to configure them, and how to load these properties with the different type of configuration profiles. Okay, so we are going to check with a very good example, to make sure that we understand. We just covered all these theoretical concepts. Okay, and I will give you a complete project for that, with an explanation, so you guys will understand that how to use it and where to use it. Okay, and when you are when you're doing kind of practice, or in your applications. Okay, so that's all for today. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, like feel free to drop off.
Thank you.
No, Harish, thank you so much. Happy
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Yeah, you too.